In this video, we're going to cover the basics of installing a Masterbuilt semi-self-contained model endless glass door merchandiser lineup. We'll review unpacking and inspecting your new endless merchandiser, how to identify the correct cases, determining the location to install, installing the controller, how to ensure cases are level, joining cases together, installing the condensing unit, plumbing, wiring, installing shrouds, kickplates, and the bumper, as well as how to avoid common pain points. This is a general guide, and your installation may vary. For more information, consult the installation manual that's shipped with your merchandiser. As soon as your endless merchandisers arrive, check the delivery receipt for the number of pieces in the shipment and make sure you've received everything. Examine the condition of the shipment, and as soon as unpacking is completed, carefully inspect all pieces for possible shipping damage. Look for torn shrink wrap or pierced cardboard, and contact Masterbuilt immediately if you find any damage. Remove the bumper and any other components from the top of the case, as well as the electronic controller box from the back. The controller will be installed later, but it's easier to access now. Examine the data tags located inside each case to determine if it's medium or low temp, and make sure they're placed in the correct order according to your store layout. Placing a case in the wrong position will cause installation delays. Determining the best location for your endless merchandiser lineup will ensure performance and help to avoid future maintenance issues. For optimum performance, don't directly expose your cases to the sun or place them near a direct source of radiant heat or airflow. They also should not be installed in an enclosed area. If the merchandisers are located against a wall, allow at least a 4-inch space between the wall and the back of the cases, with a 4-inch open space at the top and 1 inch on each end. This space will allow air to circulate behind the merchandisers and prevent condensation on the exterior surfaces. Make sure the floor is strong enough to support the merchandiser lineup with no sagging. Then, prepare the installation area by cleaning thoroughly. Check the dimensions of the entire lineup and mark the exact location on the floor. Snap chalk lines where the base skids of the cases will be located. Each endless case comes with an electronic controller housed in a metal container, secured to the back for shipping. Since the controller was removed earlier in the installation process, it's now ready to be installed. To install the controller, first detach it and then set it on top of the case in the outlined area marked for it. Then, secure the controller to the top of the cabinet using provided screws. Your controller may differ from the one shown, so see the installation manual for programming instructions. The most crucial step in the installation process is ensuring the cases are level, which is essential for case-to-case alignment and effective drainage. Begin by positioning the case along the pre-drawn chalk lines using a J-bar, pallet jack, or forklift if possible. Be careful to lift along the metal supports at the bottom to avoid damaging the base. Next, place the metal hat channels that came with the case underneath the skids at the bottom for support. Place a level against the front and insert shims underneath as needed until it's perfectly level. To ensure proper leveling, check the tops of the doors. They should align precisely. Any unevenness or stair-stepping indicates the cases are not level. Inspect the case frames for accuracy. If needed, adjust by adding or removing shims. For further adjustment, locate the 2 screws at the base of each door. These can be turned to fine-tune the door's position. To adjust the closing tension, turn the front adjuster counterclockwise. Then, test by slightly opening the door. If it doesn't close on its own, increase the tension by turning the adjuster clockwise until the door shuts smoothly. To help the stair-step effect, use the inside adjuster screw. Turning it counterclockwise will lift the opposite corner of the door, while turning it clockwise will lower it. Make small adjustments as needed and test to ensure the doors operate properly. Repeat the leveling process for each subsequent case, ensuring they remain level relative to one another. At this point, we're ready to begin joining the cases together. First, remove the shelves, rear plenum, and coil cover in the end of the case being added to gain access to the frame bolt holes. Then, install the T-rail, which is the piece of molding that covers the small gap between cases in a lineup. Using tape, set the T-rail in place just before the cases are sealed together. The T-rail must be set in place before cases are bolted together. Attempting to position it afterward will damage the T-rail and result in improper fit. Next, apply a bead of butyl sealant to all exposed foam edges at the end of one case. This creates an airtight seal when the cases are joined together. Inspect the bead to make sure there are no gaps and there is enough to provide a complete seal. After the butyl sealant is applied to one of the two cases, they're ready to be joined together. Move the second case into position against the end of the first case using a J-bar or similar device. Install the hat channels and level the second case using the appropriate shims just as you did with the first case. Bolt the cases together through the 5 holes in the end frame. Once cases are joined using the provided bolts, slowly draw them together until they're airtight. Use a J-bar to position cases as needed. Tighten the bolts until all seams are fully closed. Be careful not to over-tighten. Doing so will crack the weld and prevent the units from pulling together. Semi-self-contained merchandisers are supplied with a top-mounted condensing unit. On top of the case, there is an outline designating where the unit should be placed. To install the unit, first place it on top of the case using proper lifting techniques. Keeping in mind the units can be very heavy. Using a genie lift or similar device is recommended. Coat the quick couple fitting threads with the provided oil and connect the refrigerant line sets to the condensers. Using the oil is a vital step because it helps prevent potential refrigerant leaks. Endless merchandisers are equipped with a pre-assembled condensate drain kit, including a 90-degree elbow, a threaded fitting, a barbed fitting, and a trap. Connect the supplied flexible hose to the barbed fitting and then to a drain or condensate pump, whichever is applicable. Each case must have its own drain or condensate pump. Then, connect the assembled kit to the elbow joint at the bottom of the case using pipe adhesive. If you're installing a drain, keep the following points in mind. Always install drains in compliance with local codes. Use the largest possible pipe size with a minimum recommendation of 1 inch, and ensure the drain has the maximum downhill slope. To prevent freezing, keep the drain from coming into contact with uninsulated suction lines. If you're installing a condensate pump system, start by plugging the pump into the receptacle at the bottom of the case. Next, connect the flexible hose extending to the top of the case. Then, place the opposite end of the hose in the evaporator pan supplied with your merchandiser. Finally, plug the pan into the receptacle on top of the case for power. Condensing units on endless cases require 230-volt single-phase power. To wire a semi-self-contained endless case, start by removing the electrical compartment cover from the condensing unit. You'll typically find 4 wires, red, black, blue, and green, coming from the case's electrical box. Connect the red and black wires to the T1 and T2 positions on the contactor, while the blue wire connects to the resistor. The green wire connects to the ground lug. The supply voltage wiring must be connected to a disconnect box on top of the case. The box type may vary and is supplied by the customer. Since disconnect methods vary, always verify voltages before startup. Refer to the wiring diagrams provided with your case for detailed guidance. Once the wiring is complete, reinstall the electrical compartment cover on the condensing unit. Then, install the sound damper insulation over the condensing unit and mount the balloon catchers on all condensers. The next step is to install the top shrouds. First, remove the protective plastic film from each shroud piece. Then, starting on one end of the case, install the shroud using factory-supplied screws and the angle brackets that hold them in place. Cases may shift slightly while installing the shrouds, so they're installed before kick plates and bumpers to ensure proper alignment. Once all shrouds are installed, start from the same end and install the kick plates and bumpers. Install the kick plate behind the bumper and in front of the kick plate bracket. Secure the kick plate by attaching it to the top pre-drilled holes of the kick plate brackets using the supplied screws. If your lineup includes a partition wall, a kick plate joiner will be provided. Secure it in place using the 2 supplied screws. Then install the bumper by placing the top of the retaining rail and inserting sheet metal screws through the bottom pre-drilled holes of the bracket. Thank you for watching our installation guide for Masterbuilt semi-self-contained endless merchandisers. For more resources or assistance, Visit our website or call us. We're here to help.